What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking lots about Palworld. We have a couple articles. We have an article. I didn't read it, but the article says, "Is Palworld actually any good?" Of course not. This is from Eurogamer. I read the first paragraph and I was like, I'm going to wait and save this for tomorrow. So that's what we're going to do. We also got one that game developers aren't really buying the similarities between Palworld and Pokemon to accidentally create a complex model mesh with so near exact proportions. Okay, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the roadmap, and then we're going to talk about the numbers about Palworld. It's current news. This is what's happening, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to go watch a video by Josh Strife in his other channel called Josh Strife Says. He talks about MMOs and like the monetization of what it is and what small portions of the population is what the trend is and what developers and companies are looking for. So we're going to watch that as well. And then we're also going to watch Enshrouded. Since Palworld is a game that's a open world, co-op, coexisting, PvE, PvP, PvE, whatever. Enshrouded's coming out today is the day. We're going to watch Legacy Gaming and see what that game's about, because a lot of people are interested in these survival type games. So we're going to check that out as well. If you like what we do here, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. So, good morning. Good morning. What's going on? Stealth. Let's see who else is here. Eclipse, Dustin, Jarza. I can't say your name, man. Jarza. Got it. Boom. Okay. Travis, what's going on? What's going on, Z? Kylo. Good morning. Dave Rose. How's everyone doing? Let's start off. Let's start off with this one right here. Come on, Dave. Start off with this one right here. Come on, UK. Every time I look at your name, Jarza, geez, see what I'm saying? In my head, I want to say Yarza. I want to say Yarza. Jarza. I'm going to get it right. It's because you're new. And I'm trying to get the names in. You know what I mean? What's going on, Worlds? All right, so Palworld right now, just to put in perspective, okay, 5 days, and it has 7 million people in 5 days. Now, this is not a AAA game. This is a small company making a game, and it's all the rage right now, okay? Is it a flash, it's like a flash mob type thing? Potentially. I did say I think it will beat the PUBG record, and here we are. Let me refresh this. This was earlier this morning. It's a little farther down now, but the all-time peak today became over 2 million consecutive players playing it on it. I think it will hit 3 million this weekend. And surpass PUBG for the all-time record on Steam. But we'll see. So let's go into the article. I mean, every article is out there. There's people just writing articles to shit on it because that is it. That's the numbers they click and whatnot. People are like, oh, Palworld. Let me see. I'm interested in this. Let me talk about this, right? So, is Palworld actually any good? Of course not. Okay, and this article comes from Eurogamer. Okay, it says, you might have heard of Palworld. It's utterly gigantic, the first big mega hit in 2024, and potentially the biggest game that we'll get all year, at least in terms of sheer popularity and players, and certainly in terms of controversy and right? It says, if you are yet to hop on board and wondering about what you're missing, you can relax. Palworld is a big, controversial, and it's also an absolute rubbish, okay? It's primitive, derivative, and the game that appears in the first glance almost is completely fake, and the type of thing quickly mocked up for a 3-second appearance on Teen, a PC monitor in the background of a mid-budget TV drama, and a game can be played one-handed with an N64 controller by Tony Soprano. Like, that's the paragraph. I was like, I gotta read this. I gotta read this on stream tomorrow. Okay. It says it's difficult to know where to begin with this game. Okay. Like, how do you break this down into the, the problems when it's eclipsed by very nature of cynical, precision, reverse-engineered machine design, a bottle of your attention refined into a concentrated cash, okay? And it's cynical, where the developers, in 2022 are responding with some admirable candor to the question about Nintendo and the culture where it's also creating original high-quality work and why it also didn't get with it and translated by Eurogamer, okay? So it's translated. This says, quote, I have a deep-rooted desire for my work to enjoy by as many people as possible. I think everyone wants to do that, right? I mean, even as my small stream here, I think we all want more people to enjoy what we're creating. And to the end, there's a good ideas in the world. I picked them up. I don't think we need to do particular about originality. I want to make less serious or rather more easygoing. And I think it's good to create something in that way, like jumping on what's trendy. LOL. Okay. He says, fair enough. My best attempt then, I think, would be to have a go reverse engineering of the problem of Palworld myself. Much of the grumpiness around Palworld so far, admittedly, is not an insignificant portion of mine, comes from a success. Okay? Comes from the success. So he's upset of the success of Palworld. If all this feels a bit brutal for the discussion of the indie game that came out of nowhere, it's worth bearing that the success in mind, Palworld is widely popular, and not just in terms of sales, but actual player satisfaction. In terms of review numbers, around 57,000 reviews by the time this article was very positive, a huge outlier for the game at this early in its life, especially in early access, and one of the independent developers in Japan. With seemingly minimal pre-launch marketing buzz, no major publish behind it, okay? Couple success is already enough to leave you feeling sour. And this is a mindset people have, right? This person's writing the article because he's angry that this game is making it. Right? Now, he could like some other type of game. And this goes for anybody in chat. This is what happens. People love to shit on things. Okay? People are jealous. People are like, for instance, right? Like, I do a show every morning. Okay? I think I'm pretty interactive and stuff. I don't think my channel's great in any way, shape, or form, right? I think I'm providing something. But do I think that my content... Do I get mad because I'm not up there with Asthma Gold or Dr. Disrespect? No, right? They worked their ass off to get there. But someone coming along the way just sees them and goes, oh, they just came out of nowhere, right? These guys, we don't know what their story is. We don't know how many years they've been in the industry, right? The owner of the company might have been in the industry for 20 years, okay? Might have been in for 5, okay? Just because this game is successful doesn't mean he didn't work on any other game that wasn't successful. So to say that this is a flash in the pan or it's, came out of nowhere, it's kind of, asinine to think that because you are not successful. You don't think they should be successful. It says, but more than that, more importantly, I feel like playing Palworld is sour. Start up the game and you're given the option to play solo or multiplayer server, typical character creator, and then you're plunked right into the place at the bottom of the food chain and the skill tree, an extraordinary generic world. Breath of the Wild watercolored mournfulness. I was also diluted into a bland, vivid green hills. Genshin Impact, where we're watered down once again, filtered through a mobile shovelware to entirely vaped non-place of the islands. Okay, from there, in every direction is something you've seen before, removed and placed here without the context, without much of the way of the world building. Thematic scenes, general care, yes, and the Pokemon elements, roaming creatures with undoubtedly and maybe copyright infringing. Okay, I like how you put that in quotes, right? You put that in parentheses. Sorry, okay? Close likenesses of the official ones, and you can throw PAL spheres at them, which wobbles 3 times before it successfully catches, and you make them battle, all right, to the death. But it goes far beyond Pokemon, and the fact that Pokemon with guns joke, as well as Ori's wearing a little thin, also a bit of misnomer. Oh, it's also these pick up twigs and rocks and make crafting benches and make more than just an axe and a pickaxe. Then hack and whack your way into more. Make a house, the shelter, the cold, the night, the violence of other human players. Hello, Minecraft, Ark, Rust, Valheim. Okay. Now, couldn't you just say, like, I'm gonna pause there for a second. Couldn't you say Ark copied Minecraft? Couldn't you say Rust copied Ark in Minecraft? Couldn't you say Valheim copied Rust, Ark in Minecraft? Okay. And then he says, AI. The front of musical jingles and the new locations are straight up out of Breath of the Wild again. And the fast travel statues streakingly close to the Ginshi impact, and progress further, you'll also be able to put your pals to use of automated production lines, which might remind you of Factory, okay? Which also a good chunk of the Steam top seller charts from any point during the last few years. Now, back in the sensation of the actual playing it, though, the naturally of Palworld doesn't feel particularly great. It's literally a sense of whacking, wobbling trees with axes and single recruiting combos and axe swings, animations, and sounds does not feel nice. Nor does punching otherwise the sheep to death with your bare fists, watching your stamina run dry during a slow, rudimentary climbing animation over rocks with visible seams, or running out of breath as you lug more stones uphill. Beyond rapidly degrading impact of the punchline, there's not much by way of thrills. And the same goes for the humor. With less edgy, that's also been made out to be more of a LOL, so random internet humor kind. When Pals breaks loose of those throw spheres and cheeky bastards, tooltip pops up in the corner. When they're killed, they roll off, ragdoll-like, and the intention is obvious. It's the attempt to make the implied cruelty of monsters collecting games into something overt. The part of comedy that is part of the kind of clever subversion of the problem is to take the party-based monster battlers, and well, as that joke is also just plain old. This guy must love going to theme parks and bubbles. He's one of those people. Fucking hate bubbles. Bubbles are so overdone. Just water with soap makes bubbles. It's like calm down, buddy. Instead of the thrill of Palworld, admittedly, yet to get too far, he said anything elaborate going on seems to come from the bottomless font engagement with the false progression. Mash in some not Pokemon faces, hit a rock, mine some ore, craft a club, or just about anything and some XP will pop out. You level up your character, your pals, your base, and improving your stats and progression through the mostly nonsensical skill tree. And the reason Palworld's success is pretty clear, amongst other things, it's a compulsion loop. Okay? Plenty of games are, of course, just look at the biggest success of the past decade so far across the sections of the industry that you fancy. It's just Palworld doesn't bother to hide it. It's also a symbol. Is that why you're upset, though? Is that why we're upset? Because it doesn't hide the blatant what it's doing? At the end of the day, isn't it just fun? Like, I'm confused. Do we all lose our sense of, like, we all lose our sense of, like, I don't know, being a kid? Like, we look back at stuff because we loved being a kid. Like, video games, playing sports, playing outside. These things engage your brain of remembering things when you were a kid. And you like being a kid because at that moment you had no responsibilities, right? And for some reason now we're supposed to be angry. Don't get me wrong. I'm angry at companies that make broken, buggy, unfinished games. And this is early access, and I'm not defending it in that way, shape, or form. But, like, this is not a problem. This is not a problem. Okay? He says, I'm still trying to reverse engineer this one. But let's pull back a tiny bit further. The real problem with Palworld is less derivative approach itself. That's totally shamelessness. It might be oddly refreshing to be open about your criticism. Okay? Or cynicism. But also an impact on the player. Play Palworld, and you won't feel like you're playing something made with thought or craft or any earnest teams of best intentions. You won't feel admiration or wonder. You won't feel any real sense of achievement. You won't feel any artist has been involved or anything meaningful might come to mind. You will instead feel like you're playing a product designed to be sold rather than be played. You'll feel like a mark, and you would be right. Okay? That is his stance on Palworld. And I'm mind-boggled by this because remind me not to invite this person to a party. They'd be like, I can't believe you threw a party with drinks. It's so, like, last decade. I mean, all parties have drinks, but you're just copying other parties. And you have food? Oh, this food is so just last year as well. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this person, and I think there's a lot of people like this. They're just angry at everything. You can see it with Suicide Squads. You can see it with Starfield. You can see it with anything, right? You can see it with anything. It's amazing to me that Palworld is bringing up the grouchiness of everybody, right? Like, yeah, but a lot of people from Europe are not like this. I mean, they have a dry sense of humor and stuff like that. Now, I don't know. As I read it, I didn't feel like this was a like a humor piece. I felt like this person's actually angry at this. Right. Wow. What kind of adult male drinks whiskey? Let me scroll back up. Let me scroll back up and see what you guys are saying. Like, I'm just confused why this person is so utterly angry at a game that at the end of the day is just fun. You don't have to like it. And obviously you can write an article, right? You have the right to write an article and speak of it. But he said in the very beginning, he's mad because it's successful where other games are not successful. Look, people write a movie, make a TV show, write a book, and I say this all the time. Not every movie can be a blockbuster, okay? Not every book can be bestseller. Not every television show can win an Emmy, right? Like, not every video game can be popular. You can make a video game, and people like certain video games, and they go, well, that's a really good video game. You should play it, right? Is this game, like, the best game ever created? No. But at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be original. It doesn't need to make something, right? We talked about the iPhone. The iPhone didn't create the phone, but they created the smartphone and made the phone better. They took the internet, computer, phone, they put it all together. And we were all mind-boggled in 2007, okay? Because they made something and they made it better. Now, did Palworld make this game better? No, but it took things from Ark, from Minecraft, from Pokemon, from all of these other games, merged it into one, and said, ta-da, let's see how this goes. They didn't know this was going to be a hit. They had no idea this was going to be a hit. Let me see here. This is Hating 101, Water says. It's janky, sure, but it's fun, yes. Very. I don't even like survival games when I play it. World says, his tone sounds like someone stole his lunch money. Yeah. Dave Rose says, I don't think it's jealousy. This is just what he gets him clicks, and the content interest eats up and making money. Sure, Rose. Sure, but here's the thing, right? Just like he said that this game is kind of like shallow and whatnot. Him doing that is just doing the exact same thing what they did, right? He's getting on the bandwagon by your statement. He's getting on the bandwagon of just hating on something that's popular so he can get the clicks. So he truly doesn't believe what he says then. Right? I'm mad because the game made money. What type of Karen shit is that? Yeah, it's weird. Of course Nintendo could sue. They would. They're sue happy. Of course. Anybody can sue it for anything. People could sue. I could be offended because there's slavery in the game. Not really, but you know what I mean? Video games, zeros and ones. I mean, I could literally sue the computer industry because servers, there's a master and then there's slaves. Oh my God. Because of the terms they use. Come on, Raquel. Do we think we're getting more shit because of this Game Pass and not on PSN? Do we think it's getting more shit because of it's on Game Pass and not PSN? I don't know. I don't really know if that's the case. I mean, I know people want it on PlayStation, but I don't know if we're getting more crap because it's not on PlayStation. I don't think so at all, personally. Maybe he got mad because he couldn't beat the first boss. Travis says, I have a solution. Simple one. But hear me out. When you write idiotic articles like this, you should be fired. The version of Flash being too fast. Everyone wanted Spider-Man 2. What are you talking about? I had a friend that wanted to play Spider-Man 2 in the same time as me, and he wanted to play all together. I don't know what you were adding there. Movie critic, all the way. People like Fast X. What the fuck are they going to do? Critics can't have fun. They need to critique. Only indies can be special. Yeah, I feel like, okay, let's fast forward, right? This game now becomes a AAA status. Like Palworld 2 comes out, and the studio that makes it is now a AAA studio, and now they just barely go over the next thing, people shit all over it because they didn't innovate. You know what I mean, Z? But yeah, if it's an indie studio, we're all like, oh, everyone praises it, right? The dude says, I'm passing on this game until the controversy surrounding it passes and the game is out of early access. Plus, I have investment time in Lego Fortnite with the buggy, which is buggy as well, but free. That's true. Game Pass, I mean, it's not free, but you're absolutely right, right? You can play it on Game Pass for a low fee. On Twitter, most definitely, ponies are ticked. I mean, are they ticked at Xbox, or they ticked at the company for not having a PlayStation, like, port? You know what I mean? Abro says, why is it any negative talk about the completely different game is brought up? You guys bash Spider-Man. It makes no fucking sense. It's a great game. You don't like it, fine. But why keep crying about it? Yeah, I don't know what the Spider-Man comment was up there. Again, I have to beat both of them. Elden Ring is also a good story, and you can also want you... Let me read that again. Again, if I have both of them, Elden Ring has a good story, and you can say what you want, but it does. Oh, Travis is going off of Elden Ring again. All right, we'll just skip those comments. Yeah, I'm just amazed by, like, this guy sounds angry. Now, obviously, his job is to write articles to get clicks. I think he did that, right? This is why I like covering articles, because some of them are just really, really bad. So you're not reading the articles or clicking on the article. Like, I'm clicking the article, and then I'm reading it to you. Like, I don't think it's that bad, right? Continuing on, we'll go to the next article. We have a lot of Palworld stuff, because that's what's big in the news, right? Because that gets the clicks. Okay. Game developers aren't really buying the similarities between Palworld and Pokemon too accidentally to create complex model meshes, which are so near exact proportions are particularly impossible. Okay. Game developers aren't buying that several Pokemon and Palworld creatures look alike, okay, by mere coincidence. Since Palworld launched in early access last week, the survival game has frequently drawn comparisons to Pokemon in various reasons. Some initial focus of comparisons focus on similarities in different creatures' designs. While several pals and mons look alike, pervading sentiment was also that homework was likely copied, but legal trouble was unlikely to follow. You can't copyright a sheep, after all. Here's a problem I have, right? Now, again, I'm going to speculate here. Okay. What person, just consumer base, right? Right? Just a consumer base. What person is, like, bothered by, like, okay, like, I'm trying to take myself out of it. I'm not a Pokemon fan, right? I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan because I hate it or anything. I'm just not a fan because I didn't play Pokemon, okay? I never played a Pokemon game. Never. Okay? I think the closest I came to was Pokemon Go, and I didn't like going to locations and stuff like that, but I tried it, okay? So I shouldn't say I never played Pokemon. I just never got on, okay? It was more for my son. He's like, oh, let's. I was like, all right, cool. So we played Pokemon Go. Okay, I wouldn't say you played it though. Now, if I'm not a Pokemon fan and I'm not a Palworld fan, I'm just a gamer. Am I going to dig down into the files to try to prove that this person is copying this? This more sounds like a corporate thing, right? This sounds like, and again, I'm speculating in any way, shape, or form, right? Is Nintendo people are going out, and I'm not saying Nintendo fans, I'm taking, like, actual, like, people that work for Nintendo look out and try to find the schematics and stuff like that to see if they're, right? Because I can't imagine someone just doing this on their own accord, being like, I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and this guy's copying, and then break down into the files to figure out what it is, right? Because if that's the case, then you could say that Call of Duty copied Battlefield because the models are the same. They're humans. Right? Or Uncharted is like Tomb Raider. Or Apex, what's it called? Yeah, Apex Legends, right? Is like Fortnite. It's just different skin models, but they look oddly similar because the battle royales are the same. It's like, okay, I mean, you could literally do that with anything. Okay. However, the character models used the similar pocket pals are now catching the eye of several developers. As Twitter uses Biofrog points out, the several posts, plenty of models are similar looking at Pokemon and pals and have character models that are just similar. Not exact, but apparently quite close. Okay, so let's look at this, right? So As you can tell, this looks like this, right? Just changed a little bit. Now, if you guys know, I come from a film background and copyright claims and stuff like that. I know pretty good. If you change something, seven designs off of it, right? If I take a logo and then change it 7 ways, then it's fine. It makes the bare minimum of what the changes you have to make to get by where you don't get sued type of thing, right? This is why you see a lot of logos. Rocksteady is doing that with Redeem recently with their R, right? They didn't change it enough, so they might have a case there. But looking at this, right? Like this is missing, right? These are added. There's a circle here. There's 3 of them over here. It's a little thinner or a little thicker, right? There's different minute changes that actually make it different than the original, which is fair game, right? Like here, we'll look at this a little closer because he's got the pictures, right? Like, look at the difference, right? They brought this up, and we're just taking this as face value. We don't know if anyone messed with anything to make it comparable or whatnot, right? And you can see that the way this is not as thick. It's a different shape. Yeah, it's got 2 things, but they don't look the exact same, right? These are more pointy. These are more thicker, and they look like shark teeth, right? This is more round. This is thinner, right? It goes in. This is fatter at the bottom over here. This is a little thinner over here. It doesn't have the rest of the stuff on there. You see, there's a lot of stuff they changed, and yes, it's similar. 100% it's similar, okay? But it doesn't look the same. There's enough changes that you're allowed, and this is by the law, right? The rules state that you can do stuff as long as you change it, right? Or if it's in parity, okay? You can do something in parity as well, okay? So, to accidentally create a complex model mesh with so near exact proportions is practically impossible. Former Blizzard and PlayStation developer Eric Covington says that repeat improbability throughout the roster doesn't pass the sniff test, right? Now, goes to say that the threat isn't to amp Pitchfork, the Palworld team, but to provide cautionary tale to those entering the industry. Please do not cut corners, they say. You increase the risk of your project, your company, and the credibility of your teams and peers. Now, he's not wrong in any way, shape, or form saying this. We've talked about this on this channel about, I said, I'm a little skeptic of the Unreal Engine 5. It's beautiful the way it is, right? But then we've already seen multiple games come out that look a little iffy, right? We have the day before that came out, used assets and whatnot. We have Quinfall that's using assets. They're trying to flip a thing faster than normal. They're taking credit for things they didn't create. And you can do this by all means. But at the same time, the people that actually worked on video games are looking at this going, wait a minute. You're cutting corners here, and we're working our asses off, right? There's this, like, unwritten rule. It's just being cordial and whatnot in the industry. Like, you just don't do certain things, right? You don't try to screw someone else over to do something. You're like, that guy's, you got to watch him, or you got to watch that company, right? It looks iffy. So he's 100% right? You increase the risk of your project and your company credibility. This same thing goes with goodwill, right? The same thing that goes with Battlefield 2042, right? You're a little iffy on that next game they come out. Cyberpunk 2077, they had all this goodwill coming off Witcher 3. They lost that. Fallout 76, Bethesda had all this goodwill with Skyrim, and then Fallout 76, or Fallout, I should say. And then now, all of a sudden, Fallout 76 came out. They lost their credibility a little bit, right? So a former Ubisoft detective of Pikachu concept artist adds, it's pretty hard to argue that this is just taking inspiration. When asked why Pokemon or Nintendo hasn't taken legal action yet, as Palworld has been in the public eye for years, they say until seeing these models match so close, which the Pokemon company would only see upon release. I was also under the impression that was just a parody, see? So they would be safe. It seems to be crossing the line from parody to actual infringement, and this is to actually use model rips as a base. Now, see exactly what I was saying. If it's parody and it's also changed enough to look different, you can get away with it, okay? So VGC has spoken to 2 other experienced AAA game artists, with one of them saying that you cannot in any way accidentally get the same proportions of the multiple models from another game without ripping the models, or at the very least tracing them meticulously first before adding and stand out in court, testifies an expert on this. At the time of writing this, CEO of Palworld developer Pocket Pair has shot down the legal concerns, saying we have absolutely no intention of infringing upon the intellectual property of other companies. Okay. Also says it's seen the death threats, has also asked people to not slander the artists working on the survival game. Nintendo, meanwhile, has said that they are aware of Palworld's existence in case that you really doubt that, but said it wouldn't be commenting on the individual case as per game file. That doesn't apply to the former staffers, though. Within the former head of Pokemon Company legal team says it looks like usual ripoff nonsense that would see thousands of times a year, when also the chief legal officer of Pokemon, and I'm just surprised it got this far. Now, maybe Nintendo's playing it right here, right? They're just sitting back and relaxing. They're seeing the success of Palworld, and everyone's making the memes on Twitter going, oh, Nintendo's shaking because of Pokemon and whatnot. Nintendo's just sitting back waiting to see how much successful there is. Because when they do the lawsuit now, if and when they do the lawsuit, there's going to be a lot more money there for Nintendo to take. Okay? So, sounds a bit harsh, but that's exactly what it is. Nintendo is king for reasons. Crazy Uncle Nintendo knows what they're doing. And you don't make a scene early on. You let them hang themselves. You let the game become super popular. You let them do certain things. And then you prove in the court of law if they did do an infringement in some way, shape, or form. And then you knock that peg off the thing so these people don't mess around with you ever again. But this is just real life. This is how it happens in real life. Okay? You don't show up the guy right away. You let the person hang themselves by becoming too full of themselves, right? Same with the game, right? They have 7 million people that bought this game just on Steam. Okay? It's the #1 played game right now on Game Pass, on the Xbox, on Xbox PC as well. Or PC Game Pass, sorry. Okay? And on top of that, it's got 2 million people consecutively playing this game, right? So they're just sitting back, and Nintendo's going, yep, keep making that number bigger. Because when we prove, if and when they prove that Palworld copied them, infringed it in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be a big problem for them because all this money's coming in, and that money's going to go away real fast. Another thing is, you hire artists. The artists work for you, but at the same time, they might copy someone else's work and then pass it off as their own. And as the developer, you're like, oh, these are cool designs. And if you're not doing your research enough, people could take other people's work and then try to pass it off as theirs, and then you look like a fool because you're the manager or the director of the game, and you hired people that were stealing content from other people without telling you it was other people's work. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you think that Nintendo is going to let this slide by and let it happen? Do you think they have a case against Palworld? And do you think that it's too coincidental that these guys look too much alike, like Pokemon or any other game that's out there? Now, obviously, Pokemon's not the first person to do it, but they're the biggest ones out there. That's why everyone keeps bringing up Pokemon. Again, these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. If you like what we do here, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, chat. What do you think about that? You think they have a case? It's heavily modified in Pong. I just play games where you want to enjoy. Upset a person doesn't have a single brain cell to call me a clown or no. Travis, you okay this morning? You trying to pick fights? I'm just glancing real fast. Take-Two thinks you can copyright the letter R. Yeah, it all depends on what it is. Like, you can't have 2 golden arches on your logo. You know what I mean? And they can win that in court because if people recognize the R for Rockstar, okay, Remedy would have to change their R. Just because. If it's a big enough brand, they can change they can not change the rules, but they'll favor them because of if it's brand recognition. Brand recognition is a huge thing in the business industry. Eclipse says, I mean, a lot of Pokemon are based off real life animals. They don't own that. Correct, but they own the art style of that, right? They own the art style of that. Sure, a sheep is not, you can't copyright a sheep. You can't copyright a person, right? Now, you can copyright a name of a person and the actual, like Pikachu. right? Pikachu is this. Mickey Mouse is this. Mario is this, right? It's this with this name is recognizable. That's a brand. Travis says, I know this is crazy, but do you think that these journalists who hate on this shit, they do it because maybe they think that the company's bigwigs might see and decide to hire them? No, I think it's 100% just for clicks. Stell says Nintendo should now make a Pokemon company next game. Should use Palworld as a blueprint for what everyone wants from Pokemon game. Right. They come out with the next Pokemon game that's like Palworld. That'd be interesting. All eyes on Nintendo. Will they send John Wick after Palworld? What's going on, Mukai? Whether a lawsuit or not, Huffin' the Hump'em Game Freak makes a better game. Maybe good enough to make me want to buy a Switch. Right. Well, that's a completely different conversation, right? The conversation as a customer, right? As a customer, I don't care if they copied it, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if they copied it. What I care about as a customer, that you make a game, you make a product, right? Make a game, sell a game. They made a game. People are interested in that game. They give their money for that game. They play that game. They have fun, right? That's our side of the conversation, right? Business side of that conversation is, did they steal it from Nintendo? Did they borrow, steal, infringe on part of anything business-wise, right? Now, that's a separate story. It doesn't matter if me and you like it, if we're having fun. The conversation is, did they steal from them? Dave Langer says, Nintendo borrowed from Dragon's Quest. Nintendo has no case. Until they do, there's cases out there. Again, I'm not a lawyer in any way, shape, or form, but there's cases out there that the lower one that became higher, right? Dragon Quest might have been first, but Pokemon's a bigger brand. And the bigger brand makes more money, and more money makes the world go round. Might not be fair, but there's cases out there that people win that is not fair because they're a bigger brand and they know more, right? That's all. I think Pocket Pair might have Microsoft lawyer helping them out. The dude says, Travis said Jack Reacher is a more believable character. I'll give you that. What's going on, Hilly? Good morning. If they really had a case, couldn't they have shut this down before it released? Did you hear what I said, Dojax, during my video? I don't think Nintendo wants to shut them down yet. They kind of want to let themselves hang themselves, right? Because if they know that they have a case, they're not going to say anything right now. They're going to let the 7 million, 8 million, 9 million people buy the game, right? Because then when they sue, they know they have a fat stack of cash they can get from them. Business doesn't care about your feelings, right? I don't mean your feelings. I mean about the feelings of they want the money. World says, what I want to know is, does everyone calling the PAL by what Pokemon they look like give Nintendo more ammunition for the argument infringement, or that person creating the mod that Nintendo shut? The mod thing, they'll put a thing out and they'll be like, you need to close that down. If it's on the Nexus mods or whatever, they call Nexus up and be like, you better take that off there. If you don't want the wrath of Nintendo and Pokemon to come down on you, you better take that off there. And they have every right to do that, right? If someone made a mod and it was for their own, use, and they don't share it, but social media, someone downloads it, sees it, posts a picture, and all of a sudden things happen. Kind of like, see, even the players know this is infringement. I keep trying to tell 30 he should watch Jack Reacher, but I know I do watch Jack Reacher. What do you mean you keep telling me? I've watched Jack Reacher. I watched season 1, and we're in the process of watching season 2. You didn't tell me shit. Just like Pokemon? Nah, Palworld looks similar. Right. Pretty sure that a lot of music artists do that with plagiarism. They let the song hit the top of the charts and get all the money it can, and they hear about the lawsuits a year or so after. Right. They let them hang themselves because they think that they're untouchable because they're like, no, we're not infringing and stuff like that. Now, again, I'm not saying that they are infringing. I'm saying if they are, Nintendo's just sitting back waiting to see how the whole thing happens. Now, see, if I was Nintendo, I would buy them. I would buy the company up, and now they will be making a Pokemon game like that. That's it. That's what I would do. Nintendo would be like, okay, we're going to sue you, and then we're going to buy you, and then you're going to make a Pokemon game. Well, Alan Rickman came out and said he would like to play Batman. I covered that about a month ago. About a month ago, I said that he wants to play Batman. Right, Hilly? Yeah, sue them, and then be like, yeah, we'll buy you for a discounted rate, and you'll make the next Pokemon game for us, just like Palworld. Yeah, Kylo, it happens all the time. And again, I'm not a lawyer in any way, shape, or form. I've seen shit happen for a lot less, where people will be like, I'm a millionaire, and then everyone's like, oh, are you? That's nice, because now you can afford the court fees. Right? Because let's be honest. If Palworld came out and it sold 200,000 copies, let's just say it sold 200,000 copies, what's Nintendo suing the company for? They're literally between 50 and I'm sorry, like 20 and 50 employees, right? They have like 50 employees. What would Nintendo get out of them, right? What'd you get out of them? Now, stay quiet. All of a sudden, they see in 5 days they've sold 7 million copies. Nintendo's like, whew, a big chunk of change there you got. Man, do you like that? Yeah, you like that? We might take that from you. Right? "100% great take on Nintendo playing it cool. I'm not sure they will sue, but whatever they do, they should be interesting." Yeah, look, they might leave them alone. I'm just saying the only reason Nintendo hasn't come out yet is because if they didn't sell, then it's like, why even make a big deal of it? Right? If it goes to the wayside, like for instance, let's say the day before did this, right? And it didn't sell well. They'd be like, nothing. Just another fly-by-night company trying to come in. But now, they have success. And Nintendo's going, interesting. Very interesting. Sarge says, let's not forget the last Pokemon games were buggy and broke. That's a completely different story, Sarge. Completely different story. Sure. Right? Again, you could talk about how now because they have competition with Palworld, maybe Nintendo will actually fix their fucking games and not come out with a broken, buggy game, right? Absolutely, competition is great, but if the competition actually stole stuff from them and they can prove that, again, there's nothing happening right now. There's literally nothing happening right now. It's all articles and whatnot. We're all speculating. The reason I think Nintendo hasn't said anything is they're just letting them hang themselves. They can't. If they could, they would. They would have done it already. Now Nintendo's stepping up. I don't think they. It's been 5 days. It's been 5 days, Mo. What do you mean? Nintendo likely getting illegal advice. They have history, right? It came out on Friday. There was a weekend. Technically, it's been like 3 days since the lawyers got back in the office. They probably made a phone call. They're like, what's on? He's on this whole Palworld. And they're like, yes, sensei. Hey, check it out, right? And I know that's offensive for some people, but that's a movie. It's like a Godzilla film, okay? They made the call, and now this weekend they checked it out, and it's been 3 days. It's been 5 days of actual Palworld, $7 million sales. That is a great impression. Thank you. Thank you. The Pokemon guy got slapped right away. The Pokemon mod, Mo, is literally stealing their IP and putting it in their game. So yeah, he got slapped right away. What are you talking about? There's a difference of making a thing look like it and then actually using it. Stealth says it's really wanted they would have to shut the game down when they dropped the trailer for the game over a year ago. Ever since the trailer dropped, the game has been described as Pokemon with guns. I've been saying that for look the same. Yeah, but saying it's Pokemon with guns, like the company didn't say it was Pokemon with guns. The company themselves didn't say Pokemon with guns. The viewership said Pokemon with guns. They aren't stealing, though? I didn't say they were. I didn't say they were. And didn't Nintendo do it themselves as well? Did what themselves? No, I didn't look at it, Travis. Exactly, Z. I haven't played Palworld, but if I were the devs, I would take the money and run for the hills. Well, it all depends, Hilly. If they know with 100% of a doubt that there is no way they're going to get in trouble because they know that they didn't do anything wrong, then I don't see a problem, right? Now, if there's a little thing, nefarious stuff happening behind the scenes and no one's admitting to it, and no one's speaking up, then that's a completely different story. They'll be like, you think we can win? They'll be like, yeah, we can win. Come on, did you hide those papers? Right? Like, if they do stuff like that, then 100% I would run for the hills. They seem like they're full steam ahead. They just dropped the roadmap? Sure. And I would assume they don't feel like they have any problems. And Nintendo's just waiting and sitting back, going, all right, let's see how this plays out. Why make a scene when, again, you can let people hang themselves? Basically, a dude said that everything he saw about the end game amounts to nothing because nobody will get there far since nobody is going to play the game. Yeah, I don't understand the people that say stuff like that. Like, he's fighting for the rights of people that like the game for Suicide Squad, and he's not interested in the game. Okay. Trailers for the game started 2 years ago. Nintendo thought they had... where I missed it. Where did you say? Nintendo thought they had a case. They move. Nintendo is sue happy. Again, what would you sue them for? What are you getting out of a company that doesn't have anything? What would you get? What would you get? I'm suing you. Okay, great. Thanks. The only reason they would sue them for is to stop them from even releasing the game, which Nintendo would look terrible if they did that. You can't minority report this shit, right? You can't minority report them and go, well, it looks like it's going to be a Pokemon, asset flip. You have no idea what their game is. So as Stealth said, they have a roadmap now, right? So here's the roadmap. We love our roadmaps here. Love our roadmaps. Right? Early access roadmap. Addressing critical issues. Currently, numerous bugs have been identified as polarizing fixes, though. Sometimes the world data may experience rollbacks, and load screens may persist when tried loading into the world, and so on. Improvements and implement ASAP. Key configurations improvements. Improvements to base PAL AI and patching. It says planned future updates, PvP, raid bosses, endgame content, PAL Arena, PvP for PALs, Steam, Xbox crossplay, various Xbox features improvements, server transfers and migrations, improvements to building system, new islands, PALs, bosses, and technology. Okay. Really, they don't even need a roadmap because the game's in early access. So basically everything they do before the launch is a roadmap, is it not? It's just the work order that they're doing. But that's it, right? So that's what they're doing there. And let me see if we have one more thing here. They passed the 7 million. They surpassed 2 million consecutive players online this morning. Yeah, I think that's it. It's funny how people are negative to try to downplay something they aren't going to play in the first place. Misery, you need to take your ass home. We don't want you here. Yeah, you're talking about Suicide Squad, Mo. Yeah, I don't understand. It's like going to a restaurant. I love doing food analogies because they make sense, right? Like me and Mo go to a barbecue place, right? Mo likes his barbecue. I like barbecue, right? I don't like something there. Mo orders it. I'm like, no, dude, don't get that. You don't want it. You don't want to get that pork, right? The pulled pork is not very good. He's like, I love pulled pork. Like, yeah, but you don't want this pulled pork. Right? You don't want this pulled pork. This pulled pork is bad. And be like, well, I fucking like this pulled pork. This is my favorite pulled pork. Well, I didn't like it. Okay, great. I don't eat the pulled pork. He eats the fucking pulled pork. And we're both having a conversation, right? If you like a game, play the game. If you don't like the game, shut the fuck up. Eat your own food. Genshin Impact is more of a plagiarism of Breath of the Wild than Palworld is the Pokemon. Nintendo didn't do anything about Genshin Impact, right? Because there's enough changes. There's enough changes in the game and to the characters, right? That they get away with it. And they can. And that's fine because of the laws that were put into place. I think it'd be a difficult process to prove copyright infringement with the whole game is massive parts of significant difference. Exactly, Hilly. And this is what I was saying during the thing. I was like, they're going to have a hard case because they made the changes, right? I forget what it is. It's like 7 changes per thing, right? Like, if I make a phone, but the features of the phone are different than what your phone is, like the operating system, the curvature, the bevel, the whatever it is, it's different. So it's not infringing on your copyright, trademark, or whatever. Look, there's a lot of lawyer channels out there. I think Hogue Law is actually covering this as well. Okay, I haven't watched his coverage yet, but I think Hogue Law, video game, he plays a lot of video games. He does a podcast and whatnot. See what he says, because I know he's covering some of the Palworld stuff and if they have a case or not. So I personally think they're fine. What we know right now, I think they're fine. I'm not insinuating or assuming that they're doing anything wrong. I think Palworld is a fantastic game. It's fun. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, right? They took all these other games, made it into one game, and they're successful. And that Euro article that we just read, Eurogame article, they're just angry. It's like they're IGN. Like they're just upset that the game is successful, that they didn't think was going to be successful. Okay. Going from that, we're going to watch another game that's just like Palworld. Okay. It's an open world survival game, right? If you notice on Twitterverse right now, okay, you're seeing Enshroud, okay, and you're seeing Nightingale. Lots of previews of these games popping up on Twitter all of a sudden. Why is that? Because Palworld is very successful. Yes, you're not throwing balls at people in a shroud, but it's another open world survival game that people are interested in. So we're gonna watch Legacy Gaming talking about this, and we'll stop it and give it a look-see. Give it a look-see. Somebody say barbecue? Slay the beast, roast the beast. Pull the beast in my belly. Wasn't Craftopia also a ripoff of Breath of the Wild? Yeah, Craftopia, though, but the same company that made Craftopia, which is the same company that made Palworld, we played it on stream. It was fun, but it was lackluster. It was different than Breath of the Wild, but it was, similar. Right? It was similar, but it was an unfinished game. It was early access, unfinished game. I remember Apple versus Samsung lawsuit over the candy bar style phone. Right. As long as it's minuscule changes, as long as there are enough changes to differentiate it apart. It's not their favorite box. This is why Eurogamer's mad. Yeah, but did you hear me read that article? The dude sounds angry. Like, he's just upset. He's like, I'm just upset that they're making money. It would actually sound better if I had a British accent saying that, but I can't make a British accent, so I can't do that. So let's watch this. This is from Legacy Gaming. We like watching Legacy Gaming because they do a nice job doing overviews and stuff like that. Regardless of what you think, because they didn't like Palworld, but a lot of people do like Palworld. So they had a bad take on that with the masses, but it doesn't matter. They still make a good video. We like watching their videos here. All the videos and articles that we read on this channel, they're in the description down below. Go give the love to these channels and articles if you like to support. I'm not saying you have to support them. I'm just saying if you like to support them, all the information is down in the description below. Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, hold on. I gotta make this louder. Up. Make this loud. Here we go.
Adventure, survival, action, and some epic building. That's what's on the table with Keen Games' upcoming title, Enshrouded. Our team has poured over dozens of hours of trailers, gameplay, and dev blogs, and we're here to share everything you need to know before launch day. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and let's dive in to Enshrouded. Enshrouded is dropping into early access on January 24th, and by all accounts, things are shaping up well ahead of its launch. One thing we always look for when it comes to new games is just how much developers are pushing for the game to be out there ahead of its release. And
here's the thing, right? Another early access game, right? Another early access game. There's no difference. There's no difference in 2023/2024, okay, with these games. If it's early access, alpha, beta, preview program, or if it's actually launched. Because in alpha, beta, early access, preview, or launch, they're still working on the game like it's complete, and they're adding stuff as they go. There's no difference.
And in the case of Enshrouded, the team has already included it as part of multiple Steam demo opportunities with no restrictions on people playing, capturing, and sharing footage.
I.e. Wayfinder. That's exactly right, B. That's exactly right.
In my mind, that is a big deal and enough of a reason to check out the game, so let's do just that.
And I do like that they give a demo, right? We've talked about this. It's becoming more of a popularity thing where it used to be a real standard in the industry, and then they got rid of it, and now it's coming back. So
that. Enshrouded checks off a lot of boxes.
Cutting trees down, check. I'm interested. It's got running around, half naked, hitting the trees. Check. I'm interested.
As far as genre is concerned, it blends together ideas of action, survival, open world, RPG, adventure.
Open world, RPG, check, check.
Adventure, and sandbox. So let's get more specific about what the experience is.
Empty worlds with nobody in it, check.
Is like at the highest level. As far as the early game experience is concerned, Enshrouded is first and foremost an adventure sandbox game. You awaken from a strange chamber, and after a few short minutes, the world of Embervale unfolds before you. At this point, what you choose to do and where you choose to go is completely up to you. There is a journal, and that acts,
or is it,
as your main quest, but you could choose to ignore that if you prefer to explore other aspects of the game.
Murdering people? Check.
First. What I think most players will immediately realize is that the world of Embervale is broken into two parts, at least within the first zone, which is what everyone had access to during the pre-launch demo. In the Highlands, you'll experience a relatively peaceful gameplay experience. You can set down roots by building a base, gather
check.
Materials.
Watch out, Palworld, you got some competition. Do I get to throw balls at anybody? I really like stabbing people with a stick and throwing balls at them.
And explore ruins and small encampments. You'll occasionally run into enemies. That's just part of the
throwing rocks. I'll take that as balls.
Deal, but overall, it's a more casual experience. Now, on the flip side of that picturesque Highlands is the Shroud, zones spread across the map covered in a toxic fog and filled with tougher enemies and valuable resources and treasure. As you get acclimated to the world,
I do like my treasure. And I'm not being facetious in any way, shape, or form. I do like my treasure.
you'll realize that to progress, you'll need to journey into the Shroud in order to cleanse the Shroud root corrupting the world. Defeating powerful bosses, claiming their loot, and clearing the Shroud is a temporary
Oh my god, it has enemies?
act, but a pivotal part of the game's progression and most likely endgame system. When you need a break from exploring,
I like that you can play co-op with people in your servers and stuff. I do. I play every survival game that comes out. I'm looking forward to Nightingale. I totally forgot about Enshroud.
the Shroud, you can return to your base and upgrade. Enshrouded features a voxel-based world, and that means Embervale itself is almost entirely destructible, giving players near endless control over the environment. As far as base building is concerned, this opens up the door for some incredible build potential.
I was muted there because I was drinking. You can dig a hole in any place that you want. I'm really interested now. So you're telling me I could just carve a mountain out and make it into this? I'm in. I'm in.
But more on that in just a bit. I think it's important to remember that Enshrouded is releasing into early access, so we shouldn't expect the game to be feature complete.
Suicide Squad's coming out. I'm out. I have no time for this game. Why can't you guys release games like this when we're bored? God damn it.
At launch. That being said, of what you've seen so far, what do you think? Be sure to leave us a comment down below if the game looks like something you would play. Now
100% something I would play.
30,000-foot view of Enshrouded, let's take a closer look at some of the most important gameplay systems.
Artemis says, I can't enslave enemies and have my work, my fields, not for me. Can I dig in China? Or is it an invisible wall? Probably invisible wall.
Within the game, starting with gathering and crafting. From everything we've seen from gameplay so far, what's clear is that gathering and crafting...
Well, buckle up, bros. Because there's like 3 other ones coming out this year. But the funny part is, none of them are releasing this year. They're all in early access.
Things should feel familiar to just about everyone, no matter their experience with survival games. Gathering is simple, with some items being interactable, while others require you...
Right, Mo. Suicide Squad's taking over unless it's a complete wash, which I might just play the story, and then all of a sudden I don't like the end game, which is fine, because I was going into it just for the story. Everything else was bonus for me. I am excited about the end game and whatnot, and then coming back for the season, so we might have some time to play some of these games.
You to use a tool, such as an axe or pickaxe, to break them down into components. Where I think this is going to be a game changer for so many people is the ability to completely manipulate the world via gathering.
I love that
you can harvest bushes and chop...
I love that you can do this. I love that you can start digging and destroying everything. This is big right here.
Chop down trees, but you can also completely transform the world around you. That means leveling mountains and completely reshaping the land beneath.
How does that work? Okay, I have a question. How does that work if I'm playing on a server with somebody? Okay, and let's say there's a system in there where you can lock your doors. Guy just takes a pickaxe and busts through my wall or digs underneath the ground and comes through the bottom. Like, is that a thing? Or is it like once you lock your thing, it's enclosed and no one can break in? That would kind of defeat the purpose of, I don't know. I'm just thinking ahead here.
You, and while that's common enough in block-based games, there's a fluidity to Enshrouded's destructible world that almost feels organic. This isn't a new idea. Other games have absolutely tapped into...
Oh, nope. Enshroud's copying Minecraft.
To a similar system, but Enshrouded takes the idea furthest away from its blocky origins. On the crafting side of things, the loop is likewise pretty simple, with players inputting resources into various crafting stations and then waiting for the stations to output the materials. Depending on what items you're looking to...
You know what it is? You know why I like survival games? I like games that respect your time. And I know people are like, wait a minute, survival games don't respect the time. But they do. Because if I log on and start playing a survival game, if I have to level up my house or collect certain things, like Palworld, right? Like, I go explore, I find things, and then I find an egg, and then I can place that egg and build that egg, right? My time is not wasted because I'm doing something and getting something back. I can do what I want. If I want to sit there and chop a tree down and then build something, I can build something. Where lots of games out there that are more linear is it's just this and that's it. It's not really rewarding. This, I can do whatever I want. If I just want to dig a hole, carve a mountain out, go find some animals to kill, make a new outfit, make some new weapons. It feels like no matter what you do in a survival game, it respects your time.
To craft will determine how long it takes for those orders to complete, but it's an automatic process. This is something I always enjoyed about games like Last Oasis, which we covered previously on the channel.
Eclipse.
It allows you to craft the items you need.
Eclipse says it. It's the same reason why I love it, because it always feels like you're progressing
Without locking you into a crafting animation, so you're free to go about your business while items cook away. One subsystem of crafting I really enjoy about the game is rooted in other games like Terraria and Conan Exiles, where players need to seek out NPCs within the world and bring them back to their bases.
Would you go back to Destiny if they had a survival mechanic? It would depend, Crowded. I know they wouldn't do it correctly, so your question really point is moot. But if Bungie made a survival game, and it had cool features, and let's say it was like Destiny 3's survival mechanics, potentially. But at the same time, if there's another survival game that's out there that I like the IP, okay, let's say Transformers made a survival game, then I would be more interested in the survival game from Transformers because it's not a generic IP, right? Same goes with this, right? Same goes with this. This is fun, but if a IP that comes out that I know, let's say The Walking Dead, right? You would think that that would be a good survival game, right? I would go play The Walking Dead survival game if it was like Enshroud, or if it was like Palworld or whatever.
Providing them with shelter gives you access to that NPC's specific offerings, and in the case of the demo, players had access to the blacksmith, which opens up new crafting options, including full sets of armor. This is something I can see the team easily expanding on in the future, especially given that players will have access to all sorts of weapons, including wands and staves. It makes sense then that having other NPCs lean into the various sides of combat, not just physical, but magical as well. Truly, there's no limit to what the team can introduce utilizing this system, which is a good thing when you consider the long-term health of the game. As you might expect, all of these systems feed into the overall adventure game Enshrouded is laying out before players. Exploration.
This is Enshrouded. Enshrouded?
And gathering leads to resources, which you then in turn use to craft.
That swinging mechanic looked better than Black Widow in Marvel's Avengers.
More refined materials, which you can then use to craft better gear, only if you have the NPC sheltered within your base to unlock the crafting patterns. It's a relatively simple process, one we've seen before, but it's easy to understand, and so long as all the pieces work together, the developers can easily add on to or even expand the crafting and gathering in future content updates. On the other side of gathering and crafting is the building, which
this is fantasy medieval Valheim is what this is. More, but compared to Valheim,
which is intricately tied to crafting. Let's not kid ourselves. All that chopping and mining not only provides you items to aid in progression,
look how nice the building is to this thing.
The resources you can use to create. As I mentioned before, Enshrouded.
I could build anywhere at any time and do this. I don't have to put a base down and start to build. I can literally build anywhere like Minecraft. Bro, I am interested in this game.
Is a voxel game, and that means so much flexibility when it comes to building within the world. If you're someone that is meticulous about your builds, then you'll be happy to know that single block construction is a thing within the game.
Single block! Oh my god. This might sound like I'm being like joking around. I am excited. I am literally excited because in building games like this, they always put the structures. I'm like, I could build like smaller areas to make more defined detail. Okay, those of you that have been with me for a really long time, okay, I played a lot of these games. I played this game called Boundless back in the day, which is like a Minecraft type of game. Okay, I love building in games. I'm very creative. I like doing stuff like this. This is interesting.
You can add and remove materials one block at a time, and this really looks to aid the player when trying to create very specific designs. On the flip side, there are also prefabs for players that don't have the time or imagination to dream up their survival home one brick at a time. Through all of this,
it came out today.
What's most impressive, at least to me,
well, early access. It came out today in early access.
About the building is that even after massive manipulation, things still look organic, like they belong in the world, and that's something very few games.
Did he just build the fucking Castle of Grayskull? I'm in.
Games have managed to do. Considering the visual quality of a game like Enshrouded, it's easy to see how building could become a standout feature of the game, just like it was for Valheim. While gathering and crafting are huge aspects of Enshrouded, it's hard to argue that at the center of the gameplay experience are the adventure elements. I wanted to point out that while it does play a lot like a survival game, Enshrouded leans much more into the action-adventure side of things, and the main reason for that is the lack of hunger, thirst, and the need for sleep, at least not in the traditional survival sense. Your character has multiple buff slots that you can augment based on the actions that you take. For example, eating some cooked food might give you an increase in stamina or health regeneration for a period of time. Likewise, sleeping also provides you with a buff. These aren't terribly long, but they are important, especially in the early parts of the game, if you plan on jumping directly into the Shroud. Systems like this move beyond simply checking a box. They provide meaningful benefits, and while that might not mean much once we're geared to the teeth, in the early game, this is going to be huge. I think it's also worth pointing out that the gameplay doesn't seem to change much based on the time of day, another classic experience of traditional survival games. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and with access to only a small portion of the game, it's possible we just didn't get to experience how the day-night cycle impacts gameplay. Again, I think this is something the team could definitely evolve.
A squirrel suit?
As early access development continues.
The combat actually looks pretty good.
I could easily see creatures from the Shroud attacking players' bases at night and turning base building into base defending. There's definitely a few different directions the team could take this based on player feedback, but the groundwork is certainly there. What also makes Enshrouded more action-adventure...
Oh god. Please tell me that's not the skill tree. Please tell me it's not like Albion Online, where the skill tree is just ridiculously big.
Then survival is the use of an RPG-style skill tree system. As players defeat enemies and level up, they get points that they can then use to unlock various nodes. During the demo, the tree was largely incomplete, but players did have the option to lean into mage, range...
Okay, here's my first criticism on what we're watching here. That skill tree looks so freaking bad. And I don't mean like bad as like wicked or awesome. Like, it looks confusing as fuck. It looks confusing as fuck. Like, it's like the chalkboard guy with the thing. He's like, right? You're like, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff and you're trying to figure out, well, my build is I'm an elf and I gotta follow the thing. And it's like, what? Why can't we have structure?
Ranger or warrior-based skills. Again, this is where early access development is going to play a huge role in the success of the game. There are skills like Blink, which change the nature of the evade mechanic, replacing it with a teleport, and if the team can continue to build in skills that give players access to new mechanics and playstyle enhancements, rather than just passive buffs, I think it could have the potential to shape the gameplay in a fantastic way. Couple that with crafting items that aid the player, such as the much-touted glider.
That's pretty cool.
Which gives players the ability to traverse from high elevations to lower elevations without taking fall damage, and you can start to see how all the systems will work together. That's honestly what I think is the most important thing about a game like Enshrouded on day one. You don't need to have all the bells and whistles figured out for the early access launch, but making sure that all the pieces work together is crucial to keep players engaged, even if it's only for a period of time before they run out of things to do. That being said, a first impression is everything, so having those systems all work
I agree. First impressions are everything.
Hand in glove on day one is going to be huge. What we haven't touched on up until this point is...
This video is 3 weeks old, by the way, and today it's out, so...
combat, and I think this is one of the things that'll end up defining the Enshrouded experience. I've mentioned that Enshrouded feels more like...
That was cool right there. Did you guys see that? The fully destructible environment. Check this out.
Defining the Enshrouded experience. I've mentioned...
Look at this. Throws a grenade. It blows up. That's cool. I like stuff like that. That's where I think gaming gets better and better as we get, you know, more intense. That the world becomes an environment that's always constantly changing.
Enshrouded feels more like an adventure game, and the combat...
Like, I don't care about graphics, right? I like where the environment and it just feels cool.
Is where you'll really start to feel that. Things are relatively simple, with players having access to a number of weapons during the early access launch.
The combat looks good.
Swords, axes, bows, wands, and magical staves.
That's cool too. Look at that. That's badass.
Launch, including swords, axes, bows.
Look at the explosion.
Wands, and magical staves.
And the whole base just
Blending
explodes.
melee and ranged combat, players can tackle challenges as they see fit, and that.
Yeah, did you see that? Even the ground, even the ground that he shoots. Look at that. When he shoots the ground, it craters a hole like Minecraft.
Melee and ranged combat, players can tackle challenges as they see fit, and that all pieces together nicely with the game's co-op structure, which allows for up to 16 players on the same server.
That looks like a boss from Dauntless.
Co-op structure, which allows for up to 16 players on the same server.
I mean, in a different art style, but
the action itself is straightforward, with combat boiling down to dodging, parrying, and attacking. Most weapons, melee in particular, have a few simple animations that string together, but as you unlock skills, this does enhance the action quite a bit. Ultimately, I think players will find that the combat is simple to start and a bit more engaging as skill progression occurs. It's clear to me the team is again building a foundation. The developers, Keen Games, also created Portal Knights, and you can easily draw a few parallels between the two games. Simple doesn't necessarily mean bad, and I want to make
that's a hell of a step up from their last game. That's a hell of a step up.
sure that's clear, because if you watch other videos from people who have played the demo, what they talk about is the pacing of the action, which by and large, people enjoyed. Ahead of Enshrouded's early access release, I think it's safe to say there are a lot of people excited about the game. It's currently the 12th most followed upcoming game on SteamDB.
I like how Palworld was 14th, and now it's #1 on Steam.
And ranked number 8 for Steam wishlists, and that is saying something. Personally, what I'm most excited about is the building. Having the freedom of a voxel world that looks as good as Enshrouded does is going to make for some truly epic builds, and that's something I can't wait to see more of post-launch. I also think the team is building a solid foundation. There's not a lot of bells and whistles at this point, and that's okay, because over the course of early access, I think
the building seems pretty fluid.
Right systems are being established to allow the team to scale Enshrouded as big as they want. I, for one, cannot wait to check out Enshrouded. In fact, there are a ton of awesome games coming out in 2024, and we've taken the time to map out the entire year.
Here's the thing.
So if you're wondering what's coming down,
it does look good. Right? It does look good, but it's an early access. And you know what? More times than not, early access means, okay, like Palworld has its issues, right? Like, I'm enjoying it because it's different. Enshrouded looks different as far as the different mechanics and the building and stuff that it has. But overall, I think it looks kind of samey as every other survival game out there. It's like this medieval fantasy type of base, where Palworld kind of sticks out because it's kind of different, even though it's kind of Pokemon-ish, right? So I'm going to wait on Enshrouded because, one, Suicide Squad's coming out, and I'm interested in Suicide Squads more, okay? But I think another reason is that we're going to let them flush that game out a bit. We're going to let them flush out that game a bit. So when we have a downtime in gaming, and I'm going to wait, because, again, the game's not released, early access, it'll just be a better game down the road. The baseline there looks fantastic. Looks fantastic. Yeah, the building stuff looks good, Dave. Enshrouded is one of those early access games that has its technical issues. Yeah, and you know what? I think it'll do fine, but I'll check back in 6 months and see where it is. I think people are gonna have fun with that. The building mechanic in that game and the combat looks pretty damn good. Looks pretty damn good. That game, just like any other survival game, right? I think I'm enjoying, even though we're not playing with people right now in Palworld, because we had server issues and we got separated and our work schedules are different. But it's better when you play those types of games with people, right? And just knowing that we're in the world and there's other people building stuff is cool, right? It's just fun. When you're playing a game by yourself, it's fun, but there's that thing missing. It's sort of like Sea of Thieves, right? Sea of Thieves, when you're in Sea of Thieves, you're sailing on your own, not Safer Sea, it's just regular game. You're sailing, and you know that there's other people out in the game that potentially could interact with you at any point, right? And that's what's cool about it. Would you say Diablo 4 Was an early access game? What do you mean was? It is. I said that B when the game came out. Most games, if it takes 5 to 7 years to create it, okay, let's say Diablo took 7 years to make, okay? They released it at 5, and they'll fix it over the next 2. That's what they're going to do. If Palworld was worked on for 3 years, right, or 4 years, okay, it should have been worked on for 6. But they released it at 4, and they're going to fix it over the next 2. Early access, they're like year 3. Any game that comes out in early access, they're like literally. Fortnite came out, was on for 7 years. They worked on Fortnite for 7 years, Save the World. 7 or 8 years. Okay? It bombed. 3 months later, they switched to Battle Royale. It was in early access or alpha for fucking 3 years. 2 years? 3 years? But does it matter? Does it matter? Because these games make bank. Which brings us to our next conversation. Let me bring up
what would I think of an MMO?
Okay. We're going to watch a video with Josh Strife. He's talking about MMO systems, whales, and his thoughts on new MMOs. Okay. I saw this a little bit earlier. I saw a clip of it. I was like, you know what? Let me watch this on stream. Baldur's Gate 3 was early access for 2 to 3 years. Yeah, it was 2 years early access, and then they launched it, and it became a better game, right? So, yeah, you could have bought Baldur's Gate 3 2 years ago, but now it launched, and it's a better game, right? There's no difference. You see what I'm saying? And you also got a discounted rate, right? I believe if you play Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm fine with that, right? I'm fine with early access if you pay a discounted rate because you know what you're getting for the price, and then you have to wait over time. But companies now see that, and they make a game that's a $70 price tag. They make it a beta, and they sell it to you for 70, 80, 90, 100, 120, collector's edition, deluxe edition, and then they fix it over the next 2 to 3 years. By the way, chat, if you like Starfield, there's a similar early access game called Spaceborne 2. Looks fun. Well, let's... Maybe we'll check that out. Hold on a second. Let me see. Anthem was worked on for 7 years, and they rebooted it, and they worked on it for 18 months before they launched it. Right? 18 months. We're going to watch a video of that, Altern. I brought it up. We're going to talk about the MMO first, though. The game you put in Gen Gaming chat, I'm going to check it out tomorrow. In Shroud. Looks interesting. We just watched the video, Water, about the game, and I think I'm going to wait on it. I'm going to wait on it just because it's early access, and Suicide Squad's coming out, and I don't want to put in time into a game that I'm not going to give it... I kind of regret buying Palworld, not because I don't like Palworld. I kind of regret it because I'm not going to have enough time to put into it because Suicide Squad's coming out. But because it was $30, I was like, you know what? I already have 30 hours between Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and now Steam. I have over 30 hours I have 20 hours on Steam alone. All right. So let's watch this. This is Josh Strife. Right, this is his second channel, I think. This is his second channel. This is called Let's Talk About MMO Systems, Whales, and My Thoughts on New MMOs, right? This is more of him just sitting down and talking to his chat.
That tried to use a gear system like Path of Exile. I think that that's just one part of a system that could be good. A lot of people say to me, what about a game that uses this system? What about a game that uses that system? And I'm not having a go at you for this. I'm just kind of pointing it out in general. One system does not make or break a game. One system is not going to be the reason that you do or don't play it. It could be the reason that people hate it or love it.
It's exactly right. Yeah. One system's not going to, right? It could, but it also could be the reason that everyone likes it.
But often it's not about just talking about the system in general. It's about the implementation. It's about how it works,
right?
Why it works.
Like a gun system in a game works in that particular game. Like Outriders, the gun system works there, but Destiny's doesn't. You know what I mean?
And people say, what about a game that did this? Well, if it was that simple, you'd just take the best things that all the games do and then just throw them all together into one go.
Which Palworld kind of did.
Sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, things enhance each other and work together, and sometimes things don't. Is there an upcoming MMO that I'm excited for? I don't know, because the MMORPG world has such a high expectation for every game that comes out. If it doesn't release in a finished, incredible, amazing, fantastic state, people immediately say, dead game.
Yeah, so the problem with MMOs, going off of what he's saying, is people love like World of Warcraft, right? I love Star Wars Galaxies. That was my MMO to go to back in the early 2000s, okay? And to me, they haven't made a game like that. The systems in Star Wars Galaxies were beyond anybody that's made an MMO. Now there's other ones coming out that are starting to implement those types of things. Asher Creations, what else? I'm trying to think of the other one that's coming out, right? Anyway, they're trying to implement what Star Wars did back then. And because people are so hyped on MMOs, if it's a MMO that people are looking forward to, like Asher Creations has to come out and it has to be like flawless. Otherwise, it's going to get shit on. Okay? Because the expectations of people want that game to come out, and they don't look at it like, oh, well, this is a brand new independent studio making an MMO. They're looking at, this is the latest, greatest MMO. It's going to take over World of Warcraft. It's going to be better. That's what was happening with what was that one from Amazon? What was it called? Worlds? No. The hell's that one? New World, right? New World came out, and that's Amazon's first time ever making an MMO. And everyone's like, oh, this is going to be the greatest, latest, greatest MMO. And then it didn't. It was hugely successful. Then it plateaued and then went to the bottom. And now it's kind of leveled out where it is, right? And that's the problem. Everyone, as soon as someone announces an MMO, they're like, oh, perk up. It comes out, and they're like, wah, wah.
Whereas an MMO could be fine if it released with, less content, if it was aiming for a slightly smaller overall approach. I think that I am jarred.
We knew that was happening, Prosty, right? When the game came out, I said, give it time. They'll have mounts. They'll have mounts. And of course, they have mounts now.
And I am probably slightly jaded by people telling me if this game doesn't have X amount of players on release, it is releasing dead.
And how old is New World? It's 2 years now, right? New World is 2 years? This past August? Or is it 1 year? When did New World come out? New World came out in 2021. Oh, it's 3 years. September 28th. But it was in early access, was it not? Or was it a full launch? New World Massive Multiplayer Online MMO developer, Amazon, published. Wasn't it in early access for like 1 year? Came out in September 2021, 2020. Yeah, so it's 2 years. It's 2 years. We're going into the third year.
Whereas when a game comes out, I tend to wait for a bit, and if it's still going after a while, then I give it a go. Because I don't want to jump on the hype train, enjoy it for a couple of months, and then move off to something else. I like things that I can invest time into, slowly learn, get to know, that kind of stuff. I think that's why WoW was so huge when it launched. I think that WoW launched into a genre that was just beginning to boom and wanted that. There is such a thing as right place and right time. And I think...
I don't know if it was at the boom, because there was a lot of MMOs that were even earlier on than that. I think they just... Because Warcraft was such a... Just Warcraft was a popular thing, and then they made World of Warcraft, and everyone kind of jumped on that, right? When I was in college, everyone was playing Ultima Online, or people were playing Warcraft, which was not an MMO. And then when they announced World of Warcraft, which is what, 2003? 2002, 2003?
Because when World of Warcraft released, a lot of people said, oh my god, this is so much simpler than EverQuest. People accused it of being
Evercrack,
the kiddie version. But actually, it was kind of what people wanted. There was a level of complexity that appealed to people there. So here's one thing that really gets to me. So many new MMORPGs.
That wasn't an MMO though, House. Wasn't that the Kurt Schilling video game that he created?
He's coming out. Keep saying, we're going to be the old school hardcore MMO like you remember. They're still going. You can still go and play EverQuest. You can still go and play Meridian 59.
Yeah.
People seem to think that you will find a successful game if you just release an old school hardcore MMO like there used to be, but you're not releasing into the same kind of video game landscape.
No, it's
you're
different
not
landscape.
releasing into the same reality. In fact, recently, Nexon were forced to release the monetary gain by, I think it was their top 10 players, the top 10 highest paying players over the last 10 years. And one player was spending, I think it was $150,000 a year.
And that's the landscape of MMOs. That's the landscape of gaming in general, right? He just said the top 10 people, okay, and one person spent $150,000 per year, okay? That is thousands and thousands of copies of a video game. If one person's paying $150,000, okay? Like, just, here, put that in perspective. If somebody, right, in my channel spent $150,000 for membership gifts, okay? Not that I want that. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. That is more money than I would need, okay? Because of one person. Would I care about, as a business person, right? As a company, would I care about other 99.9% of people if that one person paid that to me, right? I'd be like, what do you want? What do you want? What kind of stuff would you like me to make? Right? They basically owned me now. And that's exactly the way the game companies act. Because one person, especially these mobile games, right? Mobile games, mobile online games, MMOs, they sit there and go, well, 10 people just gave us $100,000 each. What do they want in the game? What do you want in the game? What kind of things do you want? Oh, you want a new thing? We'll put that in the game. This weapon, you want that? And that's the way they do it.
On Nexon Games. And the second highest paying player was spending something like $130,000 a year. So unfortunately, when you want to release an old school hardcore MMORPG into this gaming environment, you have to understand, if you make a pay-to-win game, one high-paying player is worth
right
1,000
thousands
mid-paying players. One whale spending $100,000 a year is worth thousands and thousands and thousands of other smaller players. But the whales need krill to eat, so you need to...
That's right. The whales would get bored if the rest of the people weren't there, because if they didn't have other people to shit on in mobile games and MMOs where you pay for power, then they would get bored and they would walk away and they would go somewhere else where they can get that feeling.
Appeal to everyone else. What would you rather have? Would you rather have, again, I mean, someone pointed it out, the one high-paying whale player was equivalent to 4,000 players
there you go.
Paying a $15 a month.
One guy was compared to 4,000 players at $15 a month. That's crazy.
Sub fee. What do you think is easier for you to achieve? 4,000 people who want to pay $15 a month, or one person who's got more money than sense?
Now think about that. What's easier for the developer? The developer makes a game, and all of a sudden this guy pays the amount of money, and they're like, what would you like to see in the game? It doesn't matter what the 4,000 people want to see in the game, because this person that's giving enough money of that 4,000 people, okay, he's like, yeah, I think it'd be cool if you could put a dungeon in here where you get this really cool loot. And they're like, okay.
It is so much easier to find one rich person. Someone once said to the guy that owns Rolex, what's the watch business like? And he replied, I don't know. I'm in the luxury business.
Yeah, I know
that
that
is
quote.
the attitude shift that has hit the MMORPG genre in general. It's not necessarily about...
Yeah, but more money than sense. The person that has that money probably has the business sense to make that money. They might not have a gaming sense to spend that money, but if they're spending $150,000, Travis, you would hope that they're bringing in a lot more money than what they're spending on a video game. That's just me, though, right? Because there's a point that you get when you're that rich that you're making more money than you can spend, and you're okay just spending the money on what you love. And I don't have a problem with that.
Making the best MMORPG. For many of the people that control the money that is required to make these kind of games, it's about making a return on investment. Spot on in the chat. Making a good game is much harder than making a casino disguised as a game.
Yeah. This is why I always say, though, make a game, sell a game. Whatever that game is, make a game, sell the game. Okay? But they don't want to make a game. They pretend they make a game, and they make it into what he just said, like a casino game. Right?
Because there are
Because it's so much easier to do that and pretend it's a game than it is to make a game. And this is where the people that get into the industry that are not really gamers, they're not gamers, they're businessmen or women that want to make a shit ton of money. And they look at how can we make money? They're like, well, what about if we make this type of game? And then it takes 3 to 5 years to make, but we'll make it in 3 and we'll work on it for the next 2 years afterwards to get those people to give us money.
Mathematical studies.
It's a faster turnaround on investment.
For the most efficient way to make a successful casino. There are no mathematical studies for the most efficient way to make a successful, loved game. Because if there were, everyone would just do that and thus make more money.
The dude says having the money is not the point, is it? I mean, if I had $1 billion, I would still not buy things that are useless. No? Correct. If you have money, the sense, that's why I said that if you have more money than sense, the sense that if you're making as much money, you're going to buy stuff. Like if I make $1,000, I'm going to buy stuff with the amount of money that I make. I'm going to pay for stuff that fits in the means of what I have. If you make $1 million, you're also going to do the exact same thing, right? There's a lot of people that don't know how to budget money, right? So they spend way more than they take in. Okay, what you do with your money is your business, but if you have billions, millions, thousands, hundreds of dollars, you spend a percentage of your income on those things, whatever hobby it is. If it's boating, car racing, video games, whatever it is. Right. I don't spend on microtransactions because I don't have the money to spend on microtransactions. Do you know what I mean? Like if I had no sense, I was just like, oh yeah, I just dropping this in the bucket. I get that back in 3 seconds. Then it's not really a thing. Right. And again, this is why the rich outweigh the poor because, and this is not trying to get political in any way, shape, or form, but this is why rules are regulated by the rich, not by the poor. Because they pay the bills, they line the pockets of the people, and that's exactly the way the business works. Any business, not just video game business, right? The producer that pays the money is the person that tells people what to do on the set, right? The highest investors like, this is my money making this film, and I want a return on my investment. You're going to do what I say. It doesn't matter about all the professional stuff because they're signing the checks.
Yeah. You say that one player is so much easier to lose their interest, lose the income. I'd choose the thousands any day for long-term success.
It doesn't matter about the success. It doesn't matter about the long-term success. Okay? It matters like this is what I find funny, right? Cyberpunk 2077, the longevity of the game. It won game of the ongoing game. It doesn't matter. It made all its money before it came out. 8 million copies sold pre-order, 5 million's day one, 5 million copies after the fact. Okay? It had 15 to 20 million copies sold within the first week. They don't care the game was broke. They took their sweet, sweet time for 3 years to fix that game, and everyone's like okay with it because as a consumer, you don't care, right? Most people don't care. They're like, I bought a game, I had fun, whoopity-doo. But as a business sense, they've sold you a game that wasn't finished, and they made all their money up front, so it doesn't matter.
You could do, but you're not looking at long-term success. You don't need long-term success.
Hold on one second. Let me...
So much easier to lose their interest, lose the income. I'd choose the thousands any day for long-term success. You could do, but you're not looking at long-term success. You don't need long-term success. You don't need to support 4,000 people for every one person.
Right? Look at Palworld. Right? If Palworld today said, all right, we're done supporting the game, and they don't make any changes whatsoever, does it matter? Does it matter? It does if they want to continue making games in the industry, and the next game they come out with, they go, oh, they made Palworld last. That was a good game, right? It's, what have you done for me lately? The last game they made was Craftopia. Nobody gave two shits about that game, okay? Came and went. Didn't even finish it. Now they made Palworld, early access. They're making a crap ton of money. 7 million people. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a company. And if they decided to just end it, be like, well, dead game. It's not successful. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, tell them that when they got your money, $30 a copy for 7 million copies. They're fine. They're fine.
So let's say you've got 10 high-paying players who are battling each other out. That's 40,000 people. Would you rather have 10 people who are going to...
Hell, let's do even Suicide Squad. If Suicide Squad sells 6 million, 7 million copies, and then nobody plays it a week later, that game is successful. Regardless what you and me think, if it's dead and no one's playing it, that game is successful because they had a budget, they succeeded that budget, and made all that money back based on the amount of copies they need to sell. That's it. It doesn't matter if you hate Starfield or hate Suicide Squad. If they make their money back, then it's a win. It doesn't matter if they support it afterwards. It continues on. It's a win.
Try to outspend each other because, God, 10 people who try to outspend each other, you can...
I said it before Season 1 came out. I said it again before Season 2 came out. I'll say it again for you for Season 3. I'm not going back to Diablo until they fix their game. I said I probably won't go back until the summer, if that. I'm a man of my word.
Focus your customer service on those guys. You can make them feel fantastic. You can make way more money serving one billionaire than you can serving 10,000 middle-class people, because that money just doesn't matter to that person. So yes, you lose a greater chunk of your income, but remember, you're also not really aiming for this long term. You're aiming for this to make profit and then move on.
Exactly right, Josh. Right? For the consumers, you want a game to continue on. For them, they're going, is it worth the money to continue this on if the percentage of money now starts to dip past the point where they want it to hit, right? Suicide Squad's probably going to be, carried on for about 20 months. And then when it gets to about month 18, they're going to be like, do we continue? Or do we tail off? Actually, it'll be a lot sooner than that. They'll see what the 6-month thing or 8-month is and go, we're going to continue.
And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing more about newer MMORPGs. The thing that makes me the most nervous about them is the kind of short-term profits. Making video games is art. Making money is a business. That's a
well said. Well said.
Very good way of putting it. And there are many, many people who have studied how to be good at business. There are not that many people who study how to be good at art. Which video game has the most amount of bloat? Do you mean just more stuff in it than it needs? Let me think. Are
Lost Ark?
we talking pointless bloat? Or I would say any of those kind of building mobile games where they're like, build your city, click here, tab here, but you've got this system and this system and
well, yeah, mobile games in general are like that.
this system and this system. I mean, Path of Exile is a great example for a game with way too many systems that go core, and they always say, you know, oh, it's going to go core. As soon as this expansion's finished, it's going to go core. Okay, well, a new player coming into this has to deal with so many systems that...
Well, I don't get into Path of Exile all the time. It's supposed to be a good game, but I just don't have the time. It's too much.
Were probably really fun when they were just individual systems, but now there's way too many of them. You know, any of the building games, the city kind of builders, with just way too much stuff going on. I would say the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is a great example of way too much stuff. Because the early Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game was, I take a card from my deck, I put it in my hand, I place it face down, and then I end my turn.
Yeah, the British accent works.
And the current Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is, I'm going to start the game, play all of these cards from my hand, Pendulum summon this, XYZ summon this, Crazy summon this, and now my deck's on the field. Your go. That's pretty much it. It's way too much stuff in far too little time. I mean, Magic the Gathering was going that way for a while with the summon elementals and the stupid invoke elementals, which I am not a big fan of.
So there you go. Right?
What would I think?
I mean, that is the business of the industry itself. Regardless if it's an MMO or if it's a live service game. Okay? Live service game wants to make all the money up front. They want to make you, and if they don't get it, and they get to keep coming back, that's even better for them, right? They make the money back on the investment, and then they make more money on the tail end for doing less work, right? And this is not a dig at developers. The business, right? Take the developers out, take the customers out. Okay? It's just the owners of the business. They're like, all right, if we invest money in 3 to 5 years to make this game, let's release it at 5. It'll take 7 to make it complete. Okay? The money that we invest in that 5 years, we get it all back week 1, month 1. By the time, 1 month after the game comes out, we get all our money back, and now we get to invest more. Now, how can we continue going? Well, what's the amount of money that we're putting into the live service aspect of it? And how much money do we need to keep that going? Even though they already got all their money back for the main game. They already got all that back. Now, they're like, all right, well, we're putting an additional $50 million into the live service over the next 12 months, right? They spent $250 million for the initial game, and they're putting another $50 million, make it $300 million for the next year. Now, how much money are they making? Now, if they can make, 50 million? What's the average microtransaction in some of these games or battle passes? Actually, you know what? Perfect example. All right, let me put 50 million. And then we're doing very generalistic math here. Simple, straight math. Okay, $10 battle pass, right? $10 battle pass. So let's say they've already made their money back for the first part. The next year takes about 50 mil. Okay, $10 for a battle pass. There's 4 seasons, so you have $40 per person. So let's say we have so that's additional $40 per year, which is half the price. Which is half the price of a video game, almost a little bit more than half. Okay, so let's say for the next year, let's say 6 million people, 5 million people bought the game, and let's say 2 million people. Okay, 2 million people get all the season passes. Okay, if 2 million people got the entire season pass, that's $80 million for the year. Okay, now think of the return on investment on that. The investment on that, we're putting $50 million in to get $80 million out in a shorter period of time, is much, much better than putting 7 years in, or 5 years in, 5 years in at $250 million for the base game. You see what I'm saying? So as long as they put that time in, smaller chunks to keep you going. So get the initial $70, get the initial $100, Deluxe or whatever, right? And we could use Suicide Squad as the example here for a live service game. It's the newest one coming out, okay? And then they put an additional $50 million into the investment to keep that gear going afterwards. That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. The guy is what us Brits called a snob. All right, so far this morning, we covered Palworld, okay? Covered the MMO talk with Josh. We talked about Enshrouded. And we're done for the day. But we're not done because you guys Altern brought up a game here. We're going to be watching Iceberg. Let me get his information to stream because we're going to watch this video now. And on my channel, we have conversations. I read the stories. We go back and forth. We have conversations. And I don't read the articles ahead of time. I literally read it with you guys and then give you my thoughts live. And then we're going to watch videos and I give you my thoughts live. That's what we do here, right? So we're watching the Iceberg Gaming. I don't know if this is a good video, but we're gonna watch this. Okay. So let me get the description and stuff in the Iceberg. Okay. So the video we're going to watch is down below in the description. Iceberg Gaming. Okay. Sorry about the clearing the throat stuff. A bright light. All right. This is called Spaceborne 2. Okay.
Embark on a journey to greatness. Get ready for adrenaline-fueled battles and a chance to claim your place in the galaxy. Grab controls of your ship, gear up for the fight, and unleash your ambition to conquer and build a new empire in the vastness of space. What's going on, guys? Mike with Iceberg Gaming here. Today we are checking out Spaceborne 2. Spaceborne 2 is a single-player, open universe RPG and third-person shooter game with an abundance of features, including role-playing, mining, trading, piracy, crafting.
Now, as he's saying this, right? This is a $20 game, and so on his thumbnail it says $20 Starfield, right? Let's continue watching this.
And deep exploration. The story picks up where it left off in Spaceborne. So if you've played Spaceborne, you'll feel right at home with this game. Spaceborne 2 offers tens of thousands of diverse solar systems to explore. Each system has a unique structure and different planets with varied surfaces and areas to discover. So you can kind of see why I draw this comparison to Starfield with this game. It's got a lot of the same features as Starfield. We have a crew that you can
sneak up there and check it out.
You can build and meet different companions. You have your ship to fly around, but unlike Starfield, it's not all just fast travel. But honestly, I never really had that much of a problem with the fast travel in Starfield. It saved a lot of time. Yeah, it wasn't like
graphics of this game look good. This is being made by one guy
through space, but at the same time, it saved a lot of time, let you do what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it, instead of having to travel all over the place. It also has both the ship and the
bro. This looks like Starfield.
Ground combat like Starfield. To me, both Starfield and Spaceborne feel kind of like an open world version of Mass Effect. Mass Effect is the first game that I've ever played that was something like this.
Dismemberment, like the whole guy's just all over the place. He's split in half.
Now, in some ways, in my opinion, this game looks better than Starfield, and in some ways it looks worse. Especially this starter town.
This almost looks like Star Wars back in the day.
Planet needs a lot of work. This sandy
needs work. One guy is making this, right? One guy.
Sandy Town is not that great to look at. But keep in mind, this game is in early access, so this is subject to change. The game went into early access on February 17th of 2023, so it's been in early access for a few months now, almost a year, and I don't know when they're planning to release it for real, but it's only one developer, which makes it...
This guy needs to get his shit together. This town looks terrible. He needs to work on it. Oh, wait, one guy's making it? Oh, never mind. It looks great.
even more impressive. It's by Burak Dabak. And whereas Starfield cost $70, this game is only $20, and in my opinion, you're going to get around the same amount of time and enjoyment.
So why doesn't the Bethesda just take this guy's game? This guy did all this work by himself.
Out of each game, they're very similar games. A lot of the same things, like I said, the companions, the crew, the space combat, ground combat. You also have different factions you can join as well, the same as in Starfield. Now the price is less than a third of the price of Starfield, and I think you can...
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this for a second. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. The gaming industry is fucking broke. Okay, for just looking at this game for 3 minutes and 8 seconds. Okay, 3 minutes and 8 seconds. You can literally buy a fucking microtransaction in a game. Okay. Okay. You could buy a microtransaction in this game for the same price as this one developer making this game by himself. What is wrong with the world?
Get the same amount of quality hours in if you so desire. The voice acting for this game is also not very good. It seems to be AI generated.
Well, no shit. It's one guy working on the game.
But again, it's just one guy with a limited budget. So
Is there a budget? He's probably like working a 40-hour-a-week job and then coming home and then doing this in his spare time.
You have to expect some production value to decline, but it's all about the gameplay, and I think the gameplay holds up. Now, while you're playing the game, you're going to level up in 3 separate classes.
This guy, not the guy that made the video, the guy that made this game he probably played the game and went, fuck this. He's like, I'm going to do it myself. He said, I'm tired of this shit. I'm going to make a game myself and show people what you can do. I guarantee it.
Classes, I think of them personally as more like careers, I guess. You have Soldier, which is your ground combat, Pilot, which is your space combat, and Adventurer, which is like exploration, etc. There are different perks you can get by filling up each bar for each of the different items. For example, if you put 4 points into alertness, then you can choose the experienced tier 1, which gets you 12.5 more experience.
Right, Travis? Unlike Bethesda, this dude gives a shit.
Now, I personally haven't gotten that far into the story for this game.
I was actually just thinking about that, Z. I was actually literally just thinking about that. I was about to say it, and you said it in chat before I said it, so I'll give you credit. Okay? I want to interview this guy that's making this game. I would love to talk to him about this game and what he thinks about the industry.
Spaceborne, whereas I have beaten the story for Starfield, so I can't really say if the story for Spaceborne is any good. And I personally like story. I find it very important, but I mean, as long as it's serviceable, if the gameplay wins out, then it's fine. So if you've played Starborn or Spaceborne, I'm getting confused even myself. If you played it, let me know what you think of the story.
Right, Quintar? There's games out there now. I don't know the back end of anything, like how this game compares to other, but how in the world can games keep blowing up to $350 million and more when this dude's making this game by himself?
Story, how it holds up. I really can't get over the fact that one guy made this.
Fuck was that? Give me 1 second, guys. all of a sudden I hear this giant bang. I was like, the fuck was that? I thought it was Nintendo coming for me. But what it turned out to be was the wind blew our back door open and our door slammed. All right, let's continue.
By himself and got this much content into it, this many different systems, this many different ways to level up, different factions, etc. It's a huge amount of content, especially considering one guy did it on his own.
That doesn't take it. This is mind-boggling to me. It's like I just found the universe was real, right? Like Starfield took 1,000 people to make the game. And this guy's showing me footage of a game that one dude created.
I think it's a him. Now, I've played this game for several hours now, and I really haven't run into any big bugs. The game hasn't crashed or anything like that for me.
There be load screens.
So I'm really impressed by that.
Flight,
a lot of the reviews say that
this guy by himself,
but I really haven't seen any.
It works just fine.
Hours that I played. Whereas if I was playing Starfield for the same amount of time, I would have had 6 different freezes, several crashes, and bugs mixed in there. So that to me makes it better than Starfield, is the fact that I can
please tell me this is like a turbo boost that he's gonna it's like a warp drive.
Can actually play it and it doesn't crash all the time or freeze.
Please tell me this is a warp drive.
Obviously,
I
as
wanted
I
to
said,
see
the
what that was.
Production value isn't quite there yet, but given the price and given that it's still in early access and the developer is still working hard on it, I would say that more than makes up for it. So definitely worth a try. And
look at the landing gear that comes up out of the ground and grabs the...
My opinion, if you're fans of the space RPG type games, if you like Starfield, if you like Mass Effect, you might like this one too. The game does a pretty good job of giving you tutorials as you go.
You can fly in the planet
as well. They pop up on the screen, and
if he flies into fucking space from the ground like No Man's Sky,
I could see how if you'd already played, they'd be a bit annoying. But for when you're on your first time through, it's definitely very helpful.
Don't do it.
There's also obviously a gear upgrade system. You can purchase goods from vendors. You can find them off of enemies you're killing. There's also a ton of different ships.
You can fly in the planet?
And
yeah.
Ship weaponry. The ships go for millions of currency. The currency in the game is TY.
Look at these ship designs. You don't have to pay $500 for like Star Citizen.
And eventually you can purchase your own capital ship for 35 million money. Now, for comparison...
That's a fucking aircraft carrier in space!
In my several hours of playing the game, I only had about like 2,000 or 3,000 money. So, there you go. You've got a long ways to go before you're going to be able to afford the capital ship. And I believe eventually you'll be able to have a whole fleet of ships following you around, so it'll be good to have a capital ship for your flagship, and then have other ships around as well. That seems pretty cool, but I didn't get that far myself. One of the things I hated most about Starfield, I mean, I really like Starfield other than the bugs.
I like Starfield too. Okay? I like Starfield too. But what are we talking about here? Right? One guy, like even if they told me 10 people made this game, 50 people made this game, but one guy?
And crashes and everything was the UI is what I really didn't like.
Is it in Game Pass? Nope. No, it's definitely not in Game Pass.
This game seems to do it better. You've got all kinds of information in your UI. Fairly easy to find, unlike in Starfield. You've got your diplomacy tab with all the factions. You've got your contacts and everyone you've met and everything like that. You can easily see your character, your levels, all your gear, what's in your ship, in your cargo, etc., etc. There are a lot of skills to level up in Spaceborne, but the game does a pretty good job of telling you what each one does. So that is both a good thing and a bad thing, in my opinion. It's good that it tells you what each thing does and you can customize, but it can be a little complicated with all that stuff. So it's both a blessing and a curse to have all the different stats and everything. The galaxy map and the system maps are a little bit confusing and hard to work with, but I'm sure you get used to them after you play them for a little while.
It's one guy. One guy.
All in all, this is a very promising game. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes and how the developer is able to develop it from here and see just how big it gets. It's already a huge game. Like I said, for one developer especially, this one guy is doing things that the big developers can't just by himself, which, quite frankly, I find very impressive. And
Impressive? This is fucking mind-boggling.
think you will too, so give it a try. I'll leave a link in the description to the game on Steam. Let me know in the comment section if you played it, what you think of it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
I bet you this guy can make our G.I. Joe game. I bet you this guy can make our G.I. Joe game. Jesus Christ. I'm going to criticize the YouTuber for a second, just because he's like being critical, like not really critical, but he's saying like, oh, well, this is bad. And this texture looks bad, bad or whatever. And then I'm just like, you said it yourself. It's one guy. I don't really think you can criticize anything that guy is doing. All right. I want to go find out who is making this. I would love to interview this dude. Got a website. Barack. This is the man. This is the guy who created it. Was born in Turkey. Graduated from high school in 2003. He was tasked with an official/unofficial beta tester for major companies like Blizzard and Microsoft. He also won second place in competition, first place in Quake 3 tournament amongst Turkish players, and second place in Warcraft Frozen Throne tournament amongst Turkish players. After studying on game programming and graphical design for several years, he has created his first game project, Messel. After about 2 years, he designed a second game called Spaceborne 1. The first game in Spaceborne series is widely regarded as a highly promising space simulator title by many and garnered his global player base consisting of thousands of individuals following his success. Released Spaceborne 2 early access, achieving even greater success compared to predecessor and securing second place in the game development world champ. Who won first place? Feel free to contact us about anything. Yeah, I will. I wonder if he speaks English. Or, amazing. Spaceborne 2. I think we might check this game out. Not this week or next week, because Suicide Squad's coming out. So I definitely don't want to put it on the back burner. So I'm gonna leave it be, and we'll come back to it. But I would like to play this game before I talk to him. I like to play it before I talk to him. So look for some streams. We're gonna play that. If it's a weekend stream, Friday stream, but we're definitely gonna play it once Suicide Squad dies down. If it dies down, we'll see what happens with my channel with Suicide Squad. I work with an international team. I'm sure he speaks English. Okay. Better than Starfield, an AI story. I tried it, but I'm terrible with mouse and keyboard. I'm more impressed about what the game is made by one guy. I have a question about Suicide Squads 30. Do you believe, just from what we've seen, could Suicide Squads become the new Destiny or Borderlands of the group is good? I think the problem is with Suicide Squads is because it's a brand. I want to say no. Just for that fact alone. Right? The reason those games are the Destiny and whatnot is because they're generic titles that become something. Where this is a already automated brand of DC. So I don't know if it becomes as popular. Now, could it be that next game, like a Destiny? Sure. Or like Division? Sure. I think the game itself, if the game is good, it'll speak for itself. But I don't know if it ever reaches the status of, like, Borderlands when it first came out was it, an unknown. Borderlands 1 was good. Not many people played the first one. Borderlands 2, when it came out, made people go back and buy Borderlands 1. And now Borderlands is a household name. You know what I mean? If the loop is good. Oh, the loop will. I think the loop will be good, but I think a lot more people will be focused on it because of the brand. It's DC. You're already attached to it, right? Did you guys see this? Let me show you this real fast. This will be the last thing we talk about or show. I'm a little excited about this. I'm a little excited about this. Let me show you.
I think it's a him.
You guys know I'm excited about Transformers, right? Transformers. This video that we're showing here, I'm not going to play the volume. I'm just going to show you Robo1 Gamer HD video. This is right here. This is alpha footage of Transformers Reactivate when it was in Unreal Engine 4. They now made it into Unreal Engine 5. So this is outdated for Transformers, but I just want you to look at it. Okay. I just want you to look at it. I'm excited. I'm really excited about this. Okay. This is the hangar. Inside this video, Robo1 Gamer HD talks about this is a social space inside the game. Like the tower, like the White House in other games. Okay. And that is Soundwave that you're looking at right there. Okay. That is Soundwave that you're looking at right there. And then in the background, I believe you see Optimus Prime right there. Look at him. Bro. If this is what the game comes out and looks like, I'm a Transformers channel from here on out. I am so psyched. And this is Unreal Engine 4. They look so good. That's Jazz? Is that Jazz in the background there? This is splash damage. Splash damage and Bulkhead are in charge of this. Okay. Now, in this video, he talks about how rumors, take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain, big giant truckload. Okay. He says that the beta is supposed to happen in the springtime. Okay. Supposed to happen in the springtime. And the game is supposedly rumored from a source is supposed to be summertime. But it could get pushed back to more like November, December. So, but I think we're going to hear something about it this year. But this is Unreal Engine 4 right here. And they upgraded to Unreal Engine 5. You can just feel the movement and whatnot. I mean, I really wish he wasn't walking in front of a giant light so we can actually see more. I don't think it's his gameplay footage, though. Like, spin the fucking camera around so we can actually see it with the light shining on him. Still looks cool. Me likey. I'm like Tommy Boy. Chris Farley. Me likey. Look at this clipping up here. You see this? Game's trash. Game's trash. This could be my favorite game. This could be my favorite gaming year, like, ever. Okay? Because one, okay, I'm playing DC Suicide Squads. Okay? 2, I could be potentially playing Transformers Reactivate. 3, we could be getting Star Wars Outlaws later this year. Okay? There's one more. There's one more inside there. Right? But I'm good. I'm good. Lens flare can't be trash. What is this? Michael Bay? Oh, I'm sorry. J.J. Abrams? Look at Soundwave, though, man. So good. DC, Star Wars, Transformers. Be honest, this is heaven. This is heaven. I'm going towards the light. I'm going towards the light. Spring 2024 marketing begins. Optimus Prime gameplay at event, which is probably E3. I just wanted to show you what it looked like. I was like, is that gameplay? Is that gameplay? And during the thing, he says, this is alpha. This is alpha footage of the game. So it looks completely different. And you see Optimus in the back, and you saw the different size. Look at the size difference where he was standing next to Optimus. Look at the size difference, right? So it's like scale. This is gonna, I say E3, but you know what I mean. Summer Game Fest, whatever you want to call it. It'll always be E3, just like X is always going to be Twitter, and just like Meta is always going to be Facebook, Z. It's just what it is. Just what it is. Yeah, when I say E3, I mean summertime, whatever the game thing is now. Summer Game Fest, whatever it is. Well, no, B's not going to be tiny. He's not going to be tiny like he was in the animated series, right? Like, not that size difference. But he will be the size. He'll probably be smaller than, I would assume, Soundwave. I mean, B-Will is going to be a lot smaller. He'll probably be maybe the same size as Soundwave. Because Soundwave's not a big, wasn't really that big. There's a rumor going on that we're getting a Jurassic Park game. Oh, that's it. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is coming out this year, too. I'm excited about that. Yeah, between last year and this year, a lot of games came out, man. I'm happy. So, excited. Good stuff happening. The fact that Prime is tall gives me hope. Yeah. I still wish Soundwave was a tape player. I don't like that he's a vehicle. Well, to be fair, I mean, I totally get it, Rose. But as a video game, what are you going to do with him? What's his traversal as a tape deck? It's like, hey guys, hold on, you're gonna transform. And he just sits there, and then another guy picks him up and then like carries him. Like, what are you gonna do? As a video game, you have to make him into a vehicle. What would you do? What's Soundwave gonna turn into? Could you imagine? Like your Megatron. Megatron's awesome. Right? And he turns into the handgun he did in the you're in the game and you're a handgun, but you're just on the ground. You're like, No, I get it, but there has to be a change in the video game because you're using him. Unless a guy comes running out and then all of a sudden you're a guy holding Megatron as a gun. It never made sense, even in the cartoon, because at least when he transformed in the cartoon, one of the other robots used him as the weapon. Right? It made sense when he was like Galvatron and he turned into like a tank and he turned into other things. He's a handgun, a tape deck. I never understood, like, Starscream could just murder him right then. Like, right? He would turn into a gun. Starscream had him in his hands. He could have just crushed Megatron right then and there. Would have been done. Fly around as a cassette player. That's it. Laserbeak flies out. Soundwave turns into a tape deck and he picks you up and he starts carrying you around. Yeah, that's what we do. Imagine that, playing co-op. You go in to change into a gun. Now shoot me. Hey, pick me up. Pick me up. Where are you? I'm over here. Where? I'm behind this trash can. I don't see you. I'm in gun form. Come on, dude. Pick me up. Jesus Christ. Why did you change into the gun so early? I didn't know where you were. Now where are you, Soundwave? I'm over here. I'm behind the car. Guys, you're killing me. You're killing me over here. There's a new rumor also. Star Wars Battlefront 3 is still coming this year. Now, I don't know about that, but I did say I still think they're working on it. And I'll die. I'll die on that hill. Yeah, good time, fellas. It's a 4-man squad. One's a gun laying behind a garbage can. The other one's a tape deck. These are the worst teammates ever. But I got a 15% buff when I'm the tape deck. That's great. You're not even shooting. And Megatron's a tank in this one, I believe. I believe he's a tank. Would you stop transforming? I get a 50% buff. Now, actually, me talking that out, Rose, I would be okay if if he turned into a tape deck and Laserbeak picked him up and traveled with him. And then you transform and he goes back into your... Soundwave better have skill tree. Skill tree. You unlock the tapes that come out of you. And just like in Palworld, you can have like the companions with you, right? So think of like Division, not Palworld. Division. You release the drone, got Laserbeak. You release Rumble, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. Soundwave needs to be like the Division, where you have your little gadgets that pop out of your chest. Be beautiful. Be beautiful. After watching that Starborn 2 game, man, any game that comes out, I'll be like, how many people worked on that? Oh, 50? Garbage. Garbage. Or carry a Rumble and Panther's back Soundwave. Could be a Beastmaster archetype. That'd be badass. I'm very excited about that game. And after seeing that footage last night, I was like, dude. I was like, I am really excited about that game. It'll probably be a microtransaction-filled pay-to-win. And I said this last year. I said, I'll probably make my first microtransaction. I might become a whale of Transformers. Who knows? You beat Spaceborne, it's just 1 credit. And underneath, it's a list of everything he did. That's what it is. You beat Spaceborne 2, it's just 1 guy, and then all the positions he had. And then a big middle finger comes up. And it says, fuck you, AAA. I'm interested in the first Ascendant, because I feel like that's going to be the game model of Transformers. And unfortunately, if Transformers comes out the same time as the first Ascendant is going to be the second Defendant. Or the second Descendant, not Defendant. Just think of the DLC Nightmare Transformers will become. And then you're broke. Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay going down that route. Is Larian Studios considered AAA? Well, they are now. No, it all depends on what the budget was on the game. I don't know what the budget was on Baldur's Gate 3. Let me see. $100 mil? $100 mil is a AAA title. I think it's over 75 mil is considered a AAA title, I believe. Let's see. And I believe a AAA game also costs at $70. This has to top the Cybertron games. It has to. I think it is going to. I think it is going to. No, Transformers is supposed to be a free-to-play game. It's supposed to be a free-to-play game, and you're going to be able to earn all the Transformers in the game, or you'll pay to get certain things, but you still have to unlock them. It's going to be like the first Ascendant. This is why I want to see what the first Ascendant does microtransaction-wise. So the first Ascendant, you can earn all the characters in that game by playing the game. It's grindy, right? Or you could do the battle passes or whatever to do certain things to unlock certain variants of them and whatnot, right? That's where they're going to make the money off of that. Think of Warframe. Think of Warframe. Warframe, you can earn all the Warframes, or you can purchase them or find them and grind in the game to earn those as well. The people that were working on the Transformers game originally was Digital Foundry, and I forget the other company off the top of my head. But they were working on the game ahead of time. They had it for 3 years. Then they lost it because of funding or whatever, and then they gave it to Splash Damage and Bulkhead. Yeah, we played the Transformers games back in June last year. June and August, or July and August. I love those games. Those games were fantastic. We had a playthrough. You guys can go watch my playthrough of it. All right, it's 12:30. I appreciate you guys coming out. Don't forget, tonight, Miller Ross will be on the podcast tonight, unless something happens. But he confirmed with me yesterday that he's able to do it today. So 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to do the 30 podcasts, chatting with Miller Ross. We're going to get to know him, find out what he did as, getting into gaming and whatnot, and also what made him start data mining Marvel's Avengers, and then leading into Suicide Squads now, and we'll have a conversation about Suicide Squad as well. So I appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure if you want to go above and beyond that, you check out the membership for as little as $5. We do appreciate you very much for coming out, hanging out with us today. And I'll see you guys tonight, or I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.